The wind whipped my hair across my face as I stood on the rooftop of the spire, Manhattan stretching out before me like a glittering promise. 4 o'clock in the afternoon. T-minus 4 hours until H hour. 4 hours until everything I'd worked for would finally be recognized. I stepped behind the heavy glass windbreak that shielded the VIP section and bent down to adjust the peonies on the family head table one more time. White and blush pink, imported from Holland, each stem costing more than most people spent on an entire bouquet. Thanks to the glass partition, the petals remained perfect and unruffled by the Hudson wind. Just like everything else tonight needed to be. My hand unconsciously moved to my purse, feeling the reassuring weight of the 2 thick envelopes inside. My grand plan. 3 years of careful saving, meticulous planning, strategic sacrifice. Inside one envelope, an all-inclusive retirement savings book for my parents, enough to fund the European river cruise Mom had circled in travel magazines for years. Enough for Dad to finally buy that vintage Corvette he browsed online every Sunday morning. Inside the other, a full-ride scholarship voucher for Brittany to study fashion design in Paris. Not just any program, the Institut Français de la Mode, the same school that had launched careers I'd heard my sister obsess over since she was 16. Tonight, when Arthur Sterling will announce my partnership in front of Manhattan's legal elite, I want my family sitting at that table. I want them to see what their daughter, their sister, has become. And I want to give them everything they'd ever dreamed of, because if I gave them their dream lives, surely they would finally be proud of me. Surely they would finally love me the way I needed to be loved. My phone buzzed once, then immediately again. I pulled it out, expecting a message about traffic or parking. Instead, my stomach dropped. Bank alert. American Express supplementary card ending in 4782, charged $3,000 at Pink Flamingo Beach Club. Transaction approved. Before I could process it, the second notification appeared. Mom, we can't make it. Your sister is having a panic attack. She needs quiet meditation space to heal immediately. So sorry, sweetie. You understand. I stared at the screen. Read both messages again. Then again. Pink Flamingo Beach Club. I knew that place. A tacky, neon-lit disaster on the outskirts of Long Island, where college kids went to drink watered-down cocktails from plastic cups while house music pounded so loud you couldn't hear yourself think. The kind of place that smelled like coconut sunscreen and regret. That was a quiet meditation space? The contradiction hit me like a physical slap. My brain, trained by years of legal analysis to spot inconsistencies, immediately began cataloging the evidence. Brittany needs quiet. Brittany needs to heal. Brittany is having a panic attack. But the charge went through at 3:47 p.m., 13 minutes ago. Which meant they'd been there for a while, probably since noon. Which meant they'd known for hours they weren't coming. They'd waited until the card swiped to send the text, waited until the transaction was approved and the money was gone, so I couldn't cancel it or freeze the account. This wasn't an emergency. This was calculated. The betrayal that surged through me wasn't about the $3,000. I'd spent more than that on Brittany's rent last month alone. It was the contempt. The casual, dismissive contempt that said they'd rather spend my money partying at a dump than spend 3 hours celebrating the biggest achievement of my life. They'd used my money to run away from me. Miss Ross? I turned. The restaurant manager, a slight man named Philippe, who'd been nothing but accommodating during the planning process, stood a respectful distance away. His expression was carefully neutral, but I could see the pity in his eyes. He'd watched me arrange and rearrange this table for the past hour, fussing over every detail. Should we clear the family table? He asked gently. I looked at the empty seats. The table was positioned in the prime spot, directly adjacent to where Arthur Sterling would stand for the toasts. If the managing partner saw me sitting alone, he would draw conclusions. Successful but isolated, professionally brilliant, but personally deficient. A woman who'd sacrificed family for career, who had no foundation, no roots, no real life beyond the office. Everything I'd worked for could be undermined by an empty table. I felt tears burning behind my eyes. I blinked them back, hard. I would not cry. Not here. Not where the catering staff could see, where word might somehow filter back to the firm that Eva Ross had broken down over her family not showing up. I clenched my fists at my sides, nails digging into my palms. No, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Keep the setup exactly as it is, the most luxurious arrangement you have. Philippe nodded slowly. But take away the reserved for family sign, I added. He paused, understanding flickering across his face. Of course, Miss Ross. Right away. As he walked away, I looked down at my phone again. The bank alert was still there, stark and undeniable. I opened the banking app with shaking fingers and pulled up the transaction details. Pink Flamingo Beach Club, $3,000. VIP Cabana Package, $1,200. High Tide Alcohol Tower X10, $1,500. Private DJ Service Fee, $300. 10 alcohol towers. A private DJ. This wasn't stress relief. This wasn't healing. This was a party. A celebration. They were celebrating not being here. My sister wasn't having a panic attack. She was having the time of her life on my American Express card, probably surrounded by her unemployed influencer friends. Probably posting it all on Instagram right now with some caption about Freedom Friday or choosing joy. I felt something shift inside me. Something cold and hard settling into place where the hurt had been. I slipped my phone back into my purse, next to those 2 envelopes that suddenly felt incredibly heavy. The view of the Empire State Building stretched before me, golden in the late afternoon light. In 4 hours, this rooftop would be filled with the most powerful people in New York's legal community. And I would be standing here alone, or I would be standing here with people who actually chose to be here. I pulled out my phone again and scrolled to a different contact. Nana? I said when she answered. I need you. They did what? Nana Beatrice's voice came through the phone like a whip crack, sharp enough that I had to pull the device slightly away from my ear. Even at 75, my grandmother's voice carried the authority of someone who'd spent 40 years as a high school principal, commanding rooms full of teenagers and terrifying incompetent teachers into early retirement. They're at the Pink Flamingo? I repeated, staring at the transaction details on my screen. Mom texted that Brittany is having a panic attack and needs quiet meditation space. Meditation space. Nana's laugh was harsh. Your mother has always had the taste of a gaudy parrot, but this is a new low even for her. The Pink Flamingo? That place is where 20-year-olds go to throw up on each other. Despite everything, I felt a small smile tug at my lips. You know it? Eva. I taught high school in this city for 4 decades. I know every trash establishment where my students attempted to use fake IDs. She paused. Are you crying? No. Good. Don't you dare cry over people who choose cheap liquor over their daughter's success. I'm getting dressed right now. I'll be there in an hour. I'm wearing the street John suit. The gray one that makes me look like I could buy and sell half of Manhattan. You don't have to. Evangeline Ross. The use of my full name stopped me cold. You listen to me. You need someone of the same class standing next to you tonight. Someone who understands that success is celebrated, not abandoned. Your mother may have given birth to you, but I'm the one who taught you that excellence matters. I'll be there. She hung up before I could respond. I stood there for a moment, phone in hand, feeling something shift in my chest. The hurt was still there, sharp and bitter, but underneath it was something else. Something that felt almost like relief. I wasn't alone in seeing this for what it was. I opened Instagram, telling myself I was being paranoid, that I was catastrophizing. But I knew my sister. I knew her patterns, her need for attention, her compulsive documentation of every moment of her life. It took me less than 30 seconds to find her story. There she was, my 26-year-old sister, holding a neon blue cocktail in each hand, the kind that glowed under black lights. Behind her I could see the Pink Flamingo in all its tacky glory, plastic flamingos, tiki torches, and people in swimsuits that should have stayed in the dressing room. The music was so loud I could hear it through my phone speaker, a bass-heavy track that made my teeth hurt. Brittany was screaming at the camera. Escaped the stiff lawyer, sister. Best Friday night ever. Thanks for the credit card, sis. She blew a kiss at the camera, then turned to show her friends. I counted at least 8 people in the frame, all of them holding identical neon cocktails, all of them laughing. The video was posted 23 minutes ago. It had 847 views already. I watched it twice, then a third time. Each viewing, the hurt receded a little more, replaced by something colder. Contempt. Pure crystalline contempt. I looked at the wine glass in my hand, a 2015 Chateauneuf du Pape that cost more than everything Brittany was wearing. then back at the screen showing my sister chugging something that was probably 90% food. Coloring. We didn't belong to the same world anymore. Maybe we never had. Class versus trash. I forwarded the story to Samantha Miller, my executive assistant. Then I called her. Sam, where are you right now? In the lobby with Jenkins and the other junior associates. We're early. Figured we'd grab drinks at the bar before heading up. Why? What's wrong? You sound... Come up to the VIP level. Now. All of you. The VIP level? That's for partners and... Samantha. Bring everyone. That's an order. She hesitated only a second. On our way. I ended the call and walked over to the family head table. Philippe appeared almost immediately, his radar for crisis finely tuned. Change of plans? I said. This table is no longer reserved for family. I need place settings for 8. My associates will be sitting here. His eyes widened slightly. The head table? The head table, I confirmed. And Mark? Make sure the settings are even more impressive than what's here now. I want this to look intentional, not like a backup plan. A slow smile crossed his face. Understood, Miss Ross. We'll make it magnificent. As he hurried away, I opened my phone again and pulled up my banking app. 3 years of financial records. Every wire transfer to my parents. Every supplementary card charge. Every rent payment for Brittany's apartment, the 1-bedroom in Williamsburg that she filled with thrifted furniture and ring lights for her lifestyle coaching business, that had exactly 43 paying clients, most of whom were our mother's friends, who'd signed up out of pity. $4,200 per month for rent. That alone was over $150,000 in 3 years. Then add the $500 minimum for the supplementary card, usually more. Regular, emergencies that required quick transfers, car repairs, medical bills, investment opportunities that somehow never materialized into actual income. I opened my calculator app and started adding. 12 minutes later, I had my total. $250,000. $250,000 over 3 years. Not counting gifts, not counting the times I'd paid for family dinners or bought plane tickets so they could visit when they said they missed me. I was supporting 3 fully grown adults, and in return, they'd spent $3,000 of my dollars to throw a party celebrating not having to see me. The elevator dinged. Samantha emerged first, followed by a cluster of junior associates in various states of nervous confusion. They'd clearly come straight from home, most of them were in cocktail attire, but not quite at the level of polish they'd have if they'd known they were being promoted to the VIP level. Eva? Samantha approached carefully. What's going on? I looked at them. At Sam, who'd been my right hand for 2 years, who stayed late when I stayed late, who'd once physically blocked an opposing counsel from ambushing me in the courthouse bathroom. At Jenkins, the first year who'd pulled 3 all-nighters last month to help me prep for the Morrison trial. At Davis, at Brooks, at Vance, all of them young and hungry and brilliant, all of them betting their careers on the belief that working for me would teach them something worth learning. They'd all shown up early. They were here because they wanted to be. My family isn't coming, I said simply. So tonight, you're sitting at the head table with me. Dead silence. Then Samantha said very quietly, Where are they? I pulled up Brittany's Instagram story and handed her my phone. Sam watched it. Her expression went from confused to angry to absolutely furious in about 15 seconds. She handed the phone back without a word, but I could see her jaw clenching. Well, Jenkins said after a long moment. Their loss is our gain. We get the good champagne. It was such a perfectly Jenkins thing to say, inappropriate and honest and somehow exactly right, that I felt myself laugh. A real laugh, the first one since those text messages arrived. Yes, I said. Yes, you do. By 8:30, the spire was transformed. The sun had set, and Manhattan glittered below us like a jewel box someone had shaken and scattered across the darkness. String lights crisscrossed the space overhead, and the bar was doing brisk business, serving cocktails with names like The Closing Argument and The Settlement. Jazz played softly enough to allow conversation, and the air smelled like expensive cologne and ambition. I stood near the head table, now perfectly set for 8, watching the elevator doors. Samantha and the others had dispersed to mingle, following my instruction to work the room and make connections. They'd transformed from nervous juniors to confident professionals in the span of an hour, and I felt a small surge of pride watching them. Nana Beatrice had arrived 45 minutes ago in her promised street. John suit gray wool with pearl buttons that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. She'd taken one look at the revised seating arrangement, nodded approvingly, and then proceeded to charm every partner's wife in attendance. My grandmother had a gift for making people feel simultaneously honored and slightly intimidated by her attention. But my stomach was still in knots. Because Arthur Sterling hadn't arrived yet. Arthur Sterling, the managing partner. The man who'd personally called me into his office 6 weeks ago to tell me I was being considered for the youngest partnership in the firm's history. The man who'd shaken my hand and said, "Eva, you remind me of myself at your age. Brilliant, dedicated, and you understand that success means nothing if you don't have people to share it with." He was old school. 70 years old, married to his college sweetheart for 48 years, 5 children, who were all successful in their own right. He gave speeches at Fordham Law about balanced excellence, and how the best attorneys were the ones who could close a merger and still make it home for dinner with their families. My HR file, the one I'd filled out when I first joined the firm, had a section about personal values and motivations. I'd written that family was my biggest drive. That everything I did was to build a foundation for the people I loved. What would he think if he saw me sitting at a head table with no family present? "Eva." I turned. Arthur Sterling stood behind me, and despite myself, I felt my stomach drop. He was shorter than he seemed in the office, but he projected authority like a physical force. Silver hair, immaculately styled, navy suit that was somehow both conservative and incredibly expensive, and eyes that had perfected the art of the penetrating stare after 50 years of cross-examining hostile witnesses. "Mr. Sterling." I extended my hand, which he shook with exactly the right amount of pressure. "Thank you so much for coming. Wouldn't miss it for the world." He glanced past me at the head table, his expression expectant, though I was hoping to finally meet the famous Ross family. "In your interviews, you spoke so warmly about your parents. Your file mentioned family as your primary motivation. Where are they?" The question hung in the air like a blade. Every possible response flashed through my mind in rapid succession. The truth would be humiliating. A lie would be transparent. Arthur Sterling hadn't built a 50-year legal career by being easy to fool. Deflection would make me look evasive. I opened my mouth, not sure what would come out. "Good evening, Mr. Sterling." Nana Beatrice materialized beside me like a force of nature, her voice carrying the steel and silk tone she'd perfected over decades of dealing with difficult parents at PTA meetings. Sterling turned to her, surprised. "I'm Beatrice Ross," she continued, extending her hand with the regal bearing of someone who'd never questioned whether she belonged anywhere. "Eva's grandmother, former principal of Street, Catherine's preparatory, and the person who taught this young woman everything she knows about discipline, excellence, and integrity." Sterling took her hand, his expression shifting to something like respect. "A pleasure, Miss Ross." "Her parents," Nana said, her tone implying that she was sharing information that was unfortunate but ultimately irrelevant, "are dealing with a family emergency that required their immediate attention. However, Mr. Sterling, I want to clarify something important." She stepped slightly forward, and I realized with a start that she was physically positioning herself between Sterling and me, protective. "Eva's parents may have given her life," Nana said, her voice quiet but absolutely unshakable. "But I am the one who forged her mindset. I taught her that excellence is not negotiable. That commitment means showing up even when it's inconvenient. That success is built on consistency, not convenience. If you're looking for the source of Eva's professional excellence, Mr. Sterling, you're looking right at it." The silence that followed was absolute. Then Sterling did something I didn't expect. He laughed. Not a polite chuckle, but a genuine, delighted laugh that made several people nearby turn and look. "Miss Beatrice," he said, his eyes actually twinkling, "that is the finest answer I've heard in years, and you're absolutely right. The fruit doesn't fall far from the tree, and clearly Eva learned from the very best." He turned back to me. "Your grandmother is a force of nature. You're lucky to have her." "I know," I managed. Sterling clapped me on the shoulder, a gesture that was somehow both paternal and professional, and moved off to greet other guests. The moment he was out of earshot, my knees nearly buckled. "Easy," Nana said, gripping my elbow. Deep breath. You're fine. That was a perfectly executed defensive maneuver, and he bought every word of it. Because it was true, I said. She looked at me, and something soft flickered in her expression. Yes, it was. My phone buzzed in my clutch. I probably shouldn't have checked it, but my hand moved automatically. Instagram notification. Brittany had gone live. Against my better judgment, I clicked. The video quality was shaky, clearly shot on someone's phone in low light, but I could see everything. My sister, absolutely drunk, holding that neon blue cocktail, surrounded by her friends. The music was deafening. She was screaming at the camera, her words slightly slurred. Best Friday night ever. No boring lawyer talk, no stiff people, just vibes. She spun in a circle, nearly falling. Someone caught her, laughing. Thanks for the credit card, sis. You're the best ATM ever. The comments were already rolling in. OMG, who's your sister, lol? Wait, did she pay for this whole thing? ATTM. I'm dead. I watched my sister toast the camera, watched her friends cheer, watched the neon lights and plastic flamingos and everything that was the complete opposite of where I stood right now. And instead of the hurt I'd felt this afternoon, I felt nothing but cold, clear contempt. Eva? Samantha appeared at my elbow. It's time for your speech. I pocketed my phone and straightened my shoulders. Let's do this. The crowd quieted as I stepped to the small podium Philippe had set up. In front of me, I could see the entire gathering partners, associates, clients, my team at the head table watching me with expressions of support and pride. At the next table over, I noticed someone I hadn't paid attention to before. A woman in her early 30s, definitely not with the firm, definitely too glam to be a client. She had her phone out, pointed in my direction but not obviously. An influencer, probably. Someone's +1 who saw expensive party and thought content opportunity. Perfect. I raised my glass. Thank you all so much for being here tonight, I began. Honestly, 4 hours ago I almost canceled this party. I could feel the surprise ripple through the crowd. I received a message that my family needed to deal with an emergency, that they needed to go heal. I let the word hang in the air for just a moment. I was devastated. I thought about canceling everything, about calling all of you to say we'd have to reschedule. I pulled out my phone, held it up slightly. But then I saw the credit card receipt. $3,000 charged at a beach club, 10 alcohol towers, a private DJ. I saw the Instagram livestream my sister partying, using my money, celebrating not being here. You could have heard a pin drop. And then I looked around at all of you. I gestured to the gathered crowd. Some of you got here early. Some of you stayed late at work this week to free up tonight. All of you chose to be here. And I realized something important. I turned to look at my team at the head table. This VIP position isn't for those of the same bloodline. It's for those of the same vision. The silence held for one more beat. Then Samantha started clapping. Jenkins joined in. Then Davis. Then Vance. Then suddenly the entire rooftop was applauding, and several people were actually cheering. I sat down, my heart pounding, and caught Nana Beatrice looking at me with something that might have been approval or might have been pride. At the next table, the influencer was still recording. Good. I woke up Saturday morning to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. For a moment, lying in my bed in my too quiet penthouse, I thought something terrible had happened. Then I picked up my phone and saw that every single notification was from my family. I didn't read them yet. Instead, I got out of bed, made coffee, and went through my morning routine with deliberate calm. Shower, skincare, the gray Armani suit that made me look like I could buy and sell you before breakfast. Only when I was completely ready for the day did I sit down at my kitchen island and open my phone. The first thing I saw was that I'd been tagged in a video. 417,000 views. My stomach dropped. The creator was at Lux, Lifestyle, Laura, the influencer from the next table. She'd edited together footage from my speech at the Spire, my words about bloodline versus vision, the elegant setting, the team at the head table with Brittany's Instagram livestream from the Pink Flamingo. The contrast was devastating. Me in black silk, speaking calmly about betrayal, surrounded by sophistication and city lights. Brittany drunk and screaming, surrounded by plastic and neon. The caption read, "Class versus trash, Family abandons lawyer sister's career celebration to party on her credit card. This isn't healing, this is an insult to good taste. Class not trash. Toxic family. She deserved better. The comments had exceeded 8,000. Is this family insane? Who rejects a $15,000 party to go to a dump? That sister is trashy. Like, objectively. Everything about that beach club screams no taste. The lawyer seems so calm and classy, and her family is absolutely feral. I can't. Thanks for the credit card, sis. I would never speak to her again. Imagine raising a daughter who becomes a lawyer and then ditching her for that. The grandmother in the gray suit is more of a family than those people ever were. I watched the video 3 times. It was beautifully edited, I had to admit. Laura had timed the cuts perfectly, had captured the exact moment my expression shifted from hurt to contempt in my speech. She'd even added a split-screen section showing the spire's elegance next to the pink flamingo's tackiness. The comments were still rolling in, hundreds per minute. Then my phone started ringing. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again immediately. I declined. A text appeared. Mom. Eva, call me right now. Another call. This time, Dad. I declined it too. Dad, this is serious. Your mother is very upset. We need to talk. Mom, how could you embarrass us like this? All our friends are texting. Do you know how this makes us look? I stared at that message for a long moment. Not, we're sorry. Not, we made a mistake. But, how could you embarrass us? Brittany. Eva, this is so fucked up. Why are you airing family business online? You know I have anxiety. Everyone is being so mean to me in the comments. Take this down right now. I took a screenshot of all 3 message threads. Then I opened a text to Samantha. Me. Good morning. Can you come in an hour early today? I need you to help me compile some documents. Samantha. Already here. Saw the video. Also compiled the documents you're about to ask for. Blue folder on your desk. God, I loved her. My phone rang again. Mom. This time, I answered. Eva, thank God. I didn't post that video, I said calmly. What? The video everyone is commenting on. I didn't post it. I didn't send it to anyone. An influencer at the party recorded it and posted it herself. Silence on the other end. Then, well, you need to make her take it down. Why would I do that? Because it's making us look terrible. Your father's golf buddies are texting him. Brittany is getting hate messages. My book club is asking me why we missed your party. Eva, this is humiliating. I took a sip of my coffee. It was the good stuff. The beans that cost $40 a pound from that place in Brooklyn. Smooth, rich, perfect. Mom, I said, you texted me that Brittany was having a panic attack, that she needed quiet meditation space. She did. She was very anxious. You charged $3,000 at a beach club known for being the loudest, most obnoxious venue. You paid for 10 alcohol towers and a private DJ. Brittany livestreamed herself screaming about escaping her stiff lawyer sister and thanking me for the credit card. Eva, you're being dramatic. Those are facts. Bank records don't lie. Video evidence doesn't lie. You chose to spend my money partying instead of attending the biggest night of my professional life. And now you're upset because people on the internet are pointing out that this was a classless thing to do. How dare you call us classless? Mom's voice had gone shrill. After everything we've done for you? We raised you. We supported you. You supported me, I repeated slowly. When was the last time you paid for anything? That's not where your parents, Eva. You're supposed to help family. I have helped, for 3 years. And last Friday, you used that help to fund a party celebrating not having to see me. I paused. I think we need to have a family meeting to resolve this. A what? Come to my apartment next Saturday, 7 p.m. You, Dad, and Brittany. I have something I want to give you. A late gift I couldn't present at the party. The word gift changed everything. I could hear it in the pause, in the way Mom's tone shifted from angry to cautiously interested. A gift? Yes. Something I've been preparing for a while. It's important that we discuss it in person. Another pause. What kind of gift? You'll see on Saturday. Can you make it? Or do you have another emergency planned? The barb landed. We'll be there, Mom said stiffly. 7 p.m. Perfect. See you then. I hung up before she could respond. Then I opened my text thread with Samantha again. Me. Can you also print out copies of the lease guarantee agreement for Brittany's apartment and all supplementary credit card statements? I need everything ready by next Saturday afternoon. Samantha. Already in the blue folder. Also included documentation of every wire transfer, every emergency payment, and a transaction-by-transaction breakdown of the $3,000 Pink Flamingo charge. The DJ alone was $300. Who pays $300 for a beach club DJ? Me. People with terrible taste and someone else's credit card. Samantha. Fair. Also, I ordered you a paper shredder. It's being delivered to your apartment on Friday. Industrial grade. Figured you might need it. I stopped, staring at that last message. Samantha had worked for me long enough to know exactly what kind of meeting I was planning. Me. You're getting a raise. Samantha. I'm getting a promotion when you make managing partner, but I'll take the raise in the meantime. I smiled despite everything and headed out the door. The rest of the week passed in a strange, calm blur. The video continued to go viral by Wednesday. It had 2.3 million views. My parents called 17 more times. Brittany sent increasingly frantic texts, begging me to do something about the comments. I ignored all of them. Instead, I worked. I closed the Morrison deal. I reviewed the blue folder Samantha had prepared, checked every transaction, verified every date. I made notes in the margins. I prepared my case like I was going to trial. Because in a way, I was. Friday evening, a delivery man arrived at my building with a large box, the paper shredder. I set it up in my dining room, placed it carefully next to the table where my family would sit. Then I spent Friday night reviewing everything one more time. The retirement savings book I'd compiled for my parents' photos of cruise itineraries, brochures for river tours through Europe, a structured investment plan that would let them travel twice a year for the next 20 years. The fashion design scholarship voucher for Brittany, a full-ride acceptance letter to Institut Français de la Mode, housing included, everything paid for. I'd spent 6 months setting these up. Pulling strings, making calls, cashing in favors. They would never know that now. Saturday arrived cold and clear. I spent the morning preparing my apartment. No food on the table, this wasn't a social occasion. Just the blue folder, neatly positioned at the head of the table, the 2 thick envelopes, placed beside it. And the paper shredder, its power cord plugged in, ready. I called Nana Beatrice. I need you here, I said. As a witness. I wouldn't miss it for the world, she replied. What time should I arrive? 6:30, before they get here. I'll bring the good wine. You're going to need it afterward. She arrived exactly on time, took one look at my setup, and nodded approvingly. You've learned well. I had a good teacher. We sat in the living room in silence, waiting. Nana was reading a book, something dense about post-war economic policy. I was pretending to read emails on my phone, but mostly just watching the clock. At 7:03 p.m., my intercom buzzed. Miss Ross? Your parents and sister are here. Send them up. I walked to the door and opened it before they could knock. Mom swept in first, and I was struck by how out of place she looked in my apartment. She'd dressed up the Talbot suit she wore to church, the one she thought made her look sophisticated but actually made her look like she was trying too hard. Dad followed, uncomfortable in slacks and a button-down. Brittany came last, phone in hand, looking sullen. Eva, sweetie, this place is so cold, Mom said, looking around my minimalist living room with barely concealed disapproval. You need more color. Some throw pillows. It looks like a hotel. Hello to you too, Mom. I closed the door behind them. Please, come to the dining room. They filed in and stopped short when they saw Nana Beatrice sitting in the armchair positioned at the head of the table, holding a glass of red wine, watching them like a judge presiding over a courtroom. Mother. My mom said, her voice instantly defensive. I didn't know you'd be here. Deborah, Nana replied coolly. Sit down, all of you. There was something in her tone that made even my father comply without argument. They took seats around the table, their eyes immediately drawn to the blue folder and the 2 envelopes. What's this about? Brittany said, still scrolling on her phone. I have plans later. Can we make this quick? I remained standing. Put the phone away, Brittany. Excuse me? Your sister said put the phone away, Nana said quietly. Or you can leave now. Brittany looked to our parents for support, but Mom was staring at the envelopes with undisguised interest. Brittany huffed and put her phone face down on the table. "Thank you," I said. "Now. I asked you here because we need to address what happened last Friday." Mom immediately launched into her prepared speech. "Eva, we've been so stressed about this viral video situation. You have to understand how humiliating it's been for us. Your father's colleagues, my friends, everyone has been asking questions. We're the victims here. That horrible woman shouldn't have posted." "Deborah," Nana cut her off. "Shut up." Mom's mouth fell open. "You ditched your daughter's partnership celebration party, a $15,000 event, to drink watered-down cocktails at a beach club that smells like sunscreen and poor decisions. I'm not ashamed of you because you're cruel. I'm ashamed because you're stupid. Mother, how dare?" "I dare because it's true. You had a daughter who achieved something remarkable, and instead of celebrating her, you spent her money celebrating not having to see her. That's not complicated. That's not a misunderstanding. That's just pathetic." The silence that followed was absolute. I picked up the 2 envelopes. "Before we continue, I want to show you something." Brittany's eyes lit up. She'd seen the envelopes, thick and expensive looking, and her mind had gone exactly where I knew it would. Are those for us?" "Yes." I held them up so they could see. "Inside, this one is an all-inclusive retirement savings book for Mom and Dad, enough to take 2 international trips every year for the next 20 years. European river cruises, South Pacific tours, everything you've ever talked about wanting to do." Mom's hand actually twitched toward the envelope. "And this one," I continued, holding up the second, "is a full-ride scholarship voucher for Brittany to attend Institut Français de la Mode in Paris. Full tuition, housing, stipend included. One of the most prestigious fashion programs in the world." Brittany gasped. "Are you serious? Eva, oh my God, Hold on." I pulled both envelopes back before anyone could reach for them. "Before I give these to you, I need to explain something." I set them down on the table, right in front of the paper shredder. "I prepared these gifts 3 months ago. I spent 6 months before that making calls, pulling strings, cashing in favors. I wanted to give them to you at the party, in front of everyone, so you could see what your daughter, your sister, had achieved. So you could see that I'd succeeded enough to give you your dreams." My voice was steady, calm, emptied of emotion. "But you chose the pink flamingo. You chose a $3,000 tab at a trashy beach club over a once-in-a-lifetime celebration. You waited until the credit card charge went through before texting me, so I couldn't stop it. You used my money to throw a party celebrating not being there." "Eva," we explained, Dad started. "You explained nothing. You lied. Brittany wasn't having a panic attack. She was drunk. She live-streamed herself thanking me for the credit card, calling me an ATM, celebrating escaping the stiff lawyer sister." I looked at Brittany. "You tagged me in that video. You wanted me to see it." I was just joking around, I didn't." "You did." I picked up the first envelope. "The retirement savings book. This represents 30 years of my parents traveling the world. First-class flights, 5-star hotels, everything you've ever wanted." Mom was staring at it like it was the Holy Grail. "Eva, sweetheart. But you chose a $3,000 party over a lifetime of experiences." I tore open the flap of the envelope. I pulled out the thick, glossy booklet filled with cruise itineraries and bank certificates. "Eva, wait." Dad half stood. I fed the booklet into the maw of the shredder. The machine roared to life, a harsh, grinding mechanical sound that filled the room. I watched my parents' faces as they watched 30 years of travel plans being chewed into confetti. Mom made a sound like she'd been physically struck. "What are you doing?" Brittany shrieked. I picked up the second envelope. The scholarship voucher, Brittany's dream school, her ticket to Paris, to the life she'd always said she wanted. "This," I said, sliding the official acceptance letter and scholarship confirmation out of the envelope, "represents 4 years in Paris, a degree that would actually give you a career instead of a hobby. A chance to become something other than an Instagram influencer with 43 followers." "Eva, please," Brittany was crying now. "Please, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean." "Yes, you did. You meant every word. You celebrated mining me, you celebrated using me, you called me an ATM." I fed the acceptance letter into the shredder. Brittany screamed. Actually screamed, like I'd physically hurt her. Mom was frozen, staring at the machine like she couldn't process what had just happened. Dad had gone pale. The whirring stopped. Both envelopes, both dreams, reduced to strips of paper in the clear bin. That's it? Mom whispered. You're destroying our futures over one mistake? One mistake? I turned to look at her. Mom, how much money have I given you in the last 3 years? She blinked. I don't know. We never asked you to. I opened the blue folder. $250,000. Mom's eyes widened. That's impossible. It is entirely possible, I said, pulling out the first document. Rent payments for Brittany, credit card bills, emergency wire transfers, car repairs that somehow cost $5,000, medical bills that insurance should have covered, investment opportunities that never materialized. I held up the lease document. This is Brittany's lease. I'm the guarantor. I'm the one who's legally responsible when she can't pay rent. Which is every month, because she doesn't have a job. I'm building my brand, Brittany started. You have 43 paying clients. I looked at your business account. You made $2,100 last year. I paid $50,400 in rent for you. I set that document down and picked up the next. This is the supplementary credit card statement. In the last 3 years, you've charged $47,000 on it. Mom, you told me this was for emergencies only. Those were emergencies, Mom said. You don't understand what it's like to. The $800 charge at Nordstrom for a new handbag was an emergency? Silence. The $1,200 spa weekend in the Poconos was an emergency? More silence. The $3,000 party at the Pink Flamingo was an emergency? Mom's face had gone red. You've always had more than us. You've always been able to afford. Because I worked for it. My calm cracked, just slightly. I worked 80-hour weeks. I sacrificed every weekend. I built a career from nothing, while you spent my money, and resented me for having it. We never resented you, Dad said weakly. Then why weren't you there? The question came out raw. Why wasn't celebrating my success worth 3 hours of your time? No one answered. I pulled out the next set of documents. This is the notice canceling all supplementary credit cards effective immediately. The $3,000 from Pink Flamingo is the last charge I'll ever pay. Consider it severance. I set that down and picked up the final document. And this is the notice that I'm withdrawing as guarantor on Brittany's lease. You have 30 days to find a new guarantor or move out. You can't do this. Brittany was hysterical now. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. Eva, please, Mom said. And for the first time, she actually sounded scared. We're family. You can't abandon us. I looked at her. Really looked at her. At this woman who'd given birth to me but had never really seen me. Who'd taken my money but never my advice. Who'd chosen a beach club over her daughter's triumph. You abandoned me first, I said quietly. Last Friday, you made it clear what you value. It's not my success. It's not my happiness. It's my bank account. And I'm done being an ATM. I pointed to the door. Please leave. Eva. Dad tried one more time. Leave. Now. Nana Beatrice stood up from her chair. She didn't say anything, but her presence filled the room. The message was clear. You're not arguing your way out of this. Mom gathered her purse with shaking hands. Brittany was sobbing, mascara running down her face. Dad looked like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. They filed out in silence. At the door, Mom turned back one last time. You'll regret this, she said. Family is forever. No, I replied. Family is who shows up. You didn't. I closed the door on them and locked it. The apartment was silent, except for the distant sound of traffic and Brittany's muffled crying in the hallway. Then Nana Beatrice walked over and pulled me into a hug. I hadn't realized I was shaking until she held me steady. You did the right thing, she murmured. I'm so proud of you. I nodded against her shoulder, not trusting my voice. After a moment, she pulled back and looked at me. Now, I'm going to pour you a very large glass of wine, and we're going to sit in your cold, minimalist apartment, and you're going to tell me how it feels to be free. 1 month later, I woke up to silence. Not the oppressive silence of loneliness, but the peaceful silence of space that belonged entirely to me. No frantic texts demanding money. No guilt trips about abandoning the family. Just the quiet hum of the city and the smell of fresh coffee. I checked my phone. No bank alerts. No overdraft warnings from Brittany. For the first time in 3 years, my bank balance was actually growing. I wasn't supporting 3 adults anymore. I was building a future. A notification popped up from Nana Beatrice. Subject: You have to see this. It was a link to a local suburban newsletter. The headline read, "Local family seeks community support after daughter's cruel abandonment." I clicked it. It was pathetic. Mom had given an interview claiming I cut them off over a minor scheduling conflict. Brittany was quoted saying I valued money over blood. At the bottom was a GoFundMe link trying to raise $50,000 to replace the stolen gifts. Raised so far $340. I scrolled to the comments. Strangers weren't buying it. Wait, the scheduling conflict was them skipping her promotion gala to go to a beach club? I saw the TikTok. Team Eva all the way. Imagine fumbling the bag this hard, and then asking strangers for cash. The audacity. I closed the laptop with a dark, satisfied smile. They had tried to shame me publicly, and the public had shamed them right back. They were no longer my burden. They were a cautionary tale for the internet. My afternoon was back-to-back meetings, ending with an interview for a new intern, Sarah Brooks, a sharp 23-year-old from Columbia Law. She reminded me of myself, hungry, driven, but without the connections. At the end of the interview, I didn't just offer her the job. I pulled a first-edition contract law book from my shelf, my lucky charm. Take this. I told her, someone once taught me that you invest in people who share your vision, not just your bloodline. You have the vision, Sarah. Use it well. She looked at the book like it was gold. I won't let you down, Miss Ross. I know you won't. I left the office at 6 sharp. The air outside was crisp, smelling of roasted chestnuts and possibility. I walked to the Italian restaurant where Nana Beatrice was waiting. She was already there, a bottle of the good red wine open on the table. She looked up as I approached, her eyes scanning my face not for signs of stress, but for peace. You look different, she noted as I sat down. I feel different, I said, taking the glass she offered. Lighter. That's the weight of dead expectations falling off your shoulders. She clinked her glass against mine. To Eva Ross, who finally stopped trying to buy love and started building a legacy. To family, I corrected softly. The real kind. We drank, and the wine tasted like victory. Through the window, the lights of Manhattan twinkled, millions of lives unfolding in the dark. Somewhere out there, my parents and Brittany were living with the consequences of their choices. And here, sitting across from the only person who had never asked me for a dime, I was living with mine. The check came. Nana snatched it before I could even reach for my purse. My treat, she said firmly. You've paid enough. We walked out into the cool night air, arm in arm. I didn't look back. The future belonged entirely to me now, and I was ready for it.